Hello, welcome back to Desperate Living, and yes, once again, it's been a long time, a couple of months, but trying to get back on track, and we're going to kick off with two videos looking at new releases from Severin Films. We'll be having an examination of a couple of new impressive box sets in the next video, which should be in a few days after this one, but for now, let's have a look at three new disc releases, three new UHDs. So, without any further ado, let's get into it.
Charles. Un amore impossibile lega due vite umane. Un amore maledetto sul quale incombe immanente, minaccioso, terrificante, The Ghost, lo spettro. My sangue. Barbara Steele, Peter Baldwin, Leonard G. Elliott, Harriet White sono gli insuperabili interpreti di The Ghost, lo spettro.
So let's kick off with Ricardo Freder's 1963 classic The Ghost, a movie starring Barbara Steele, and certainly one of the masterpieces of Italian Gothic from the 1960s, the era that I guess began really with Mario Bava's Mask of Satan, or Black Sunday, or whatever you want to call that movie, and continued through films like this, often with Barbara Steele. This is the new edition, a new 4-disc UHD, as you can see in a nice little slipcase, glossy cover, and yes, it's across 4 discs, as I said. Comes with a little postcard here which has a track listing for music, so you'll be unsurprised to hear that one of the discs on here is the soundtrack. And there you go. It's actually a compilation of music soundtrack work by Francesco De Masi, who did the score for this film and others, and there's a documentary, Executioner's Masks, Secrets, Italian Horror of the 1960s. So a substantial package, I think you'll agree. But this is a movie that I've had a long-lasting affection for. It's one of those great Italian Gothics of that era. It's certainly, I think, best of Ricardo Freder's movies. His films are a mixed bag, it has to be said, but his best work is very, very good, and this is absolutely his best work. Fascinating cast, fascinating concept, ties in very well with Terror of Dr. Hitchcock, another Freder film. This also has a Dr. Hitchcock in, but it's an unconnected movie. It's not a sequel or anything. But it's one of those classic stories of revenge from beyond the grave. Barbara Steele is the wife who disposes of her husband and then is haunted by his ghost. or is she? No spoilers, but it's a film with twists and turns. If you're a fan of this era of Italian filmmaking, then you don't really need any recommendation to buy this. If you're not a fan, this is probably a very good starting point. There are better films. It's certainly not the best of that era. The Barber films, for instance, are a lot more interesting by and large, but nevertheless, this is top tier stuff and absolutely worth having. Obviously, this new 4K edition is restored and looks better than it ever has done. And of course, the extras, both the soundtrack, CD, and the documentary, make this well worth having. A feature-length documentary on Italian Gothic movies is certainly going to be something worth looking at. And there are plenty of other extras on here too. So there's the interview, for instance, that I had some involvement in the editing of, Tim Lucas' interview with actress Harriet Mendon. And then there's Barbara Steele doing a presentation at the Venice International Film Festival, where this film was last year given a retrospective premiere. This restoration was given a retrospective premiere, I guess. Other interviews too, video essay on Barbara Steele. There's a lot of material on here, makes it an essential purchase.
Eine Idylle wie aus vergangenen Zeiten. Unberührt und friedlich. Eine Lagune zum Träumen. Doch manchmal gibt es ein böses Erwachen. Oder auch gar keins.
Another Italian film, maybe a better film, very different kind of film, but certainly from a better director, Mario Bava, is Bay of Blood, his 1972 sort of giallo proto-slasher film. This is the film that infamously and perhaps somewhat erroneously is credited as inspiring Friday the 13th. There's clearly a connection because Hallmark Productions, who made Last House on the Left, which was produced by Sean Cunningham, who then made Friday the 13th years later, also released this. And in fact, there's quite a bit on Hallmark in this. I'll come to that in a moment. But this is a very different kettle of fish from the Friday the 13th films. This is a much more intellectual, cynical, dark-spirited movie. It's not a film with a single murderer, and it's not a film with any level of real predictability or with likable characters. Everybody is up to no good in this film. It's very much got that kind of Agatha Christie and then there were none aspect to it, where people are picking each other off for greedy personal reasons. I mean, it's not a psycho movie in that sense. You know, it's all to do with inheritance and cash rather than any kind of psychosis. But it's also, of course, notoriously a very bloody film, banned in the UK theatrically initially, and then, of course, became a video nasty in the early 1980s. The UK Hakushin video label edition of the film was one of the final 39 banned movies. Eventually, I'll be making an extensive documentary on video nasties. I know lots of people have done them before, but there is actually still a story to be told, and the whole Bay of Blood thing is definitely a part of that story. But as for this disc, again, you can see slipcased, and if you thought that the 4 discs in The Ghost were impressive, this UHD edition contains 5 discs. Well, once again, there's a soundtrack, and here's the little insert with the soundtrack details on it. If you've heard the soundtrack for this film, then that's probably recommendation enough for you to pick this up, because it is a hell of a score by Silvio Cipriani. You get the UHD, there's the English version, there's the Italian version, Italian re-release version, 3 different cuts, stacks of extra content, as you can imagine. Once again, it's a disc that I did some work on. In this case, it was editing a video essay about Hallmark by Stephen R. Bissett, and very good it is too. I'm talking about Stephen's commentary, bigging up my own editing or anything like that, but you know, I think it's well worth checking out just from the wealth of information and the great imagery that is in there. There's a featurette with a whole bunch of people that were involved in this movie, including Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava's son. Archival interviews, there's a piece with Joe Dante talking about Bava, interview with my old chum Steve Thrower, and again, a beautifully put together edition. This isn't the definitive edition of this film, then quite frankly I don't know what would be. And here we have a release that does have a double-sided sleeve. On this side, the inside, it's the original UK video cover, the Video Nasty release. That's pretty much the Hakushin logo with Severin replacing it. Very nice, I think. I'll pop that one on the front. Obviously on the main cover, it's the original Italian poster artwork, and on the slipcase we have this new artwork, I guess. If you're a fan of Bava, if you're a fan of slasher movies, if you just love intriguing, outrageous thrillers with plenty of gore, plenty of nudity, then this is a movie for you. Bay of Blood is one of those films that, even though it's full of twists and turns, the more you see it, the more you pick up, the more you recognise. It's a film that keeps on giving. It definitely rewards additional viewing. And if you buy Bay of Blood, you might also want to get the edition that comes with the free vomit bag. This is a reproduction of the vomit bag that was given away with its US release from Hallmark under the title Carnage, and very much based around their vomit bag for Mark of the Devil that had been issued a year or so earlier. You know, that worked well, so why not do this? The second film rated V for Violence, Mark of the Devil was the first, of course. And yeah, the first film that dares to show hardcore violence. Well, that's probably a little more debatable, but definitely one of the earliest to get any kind of a mainstream release. And this film was something, even though it was an Italian exploitation import, that, you know, Hallmark did a good job on issuing. You can find out all about that on the documentary that's on the disc. Yeah, a nice little extra.
There have been films about earthquakes, airplane disasters, and blazing infernos, but there has never been anything like The Devil's Reign. His face.
That wasn't your father.
What's his face?
Mother? Mother! Corvus! Damn you!
They had no faces.
The Devil's Reign. The 300-year search for the power to damn mankind is over.
Fools!
And the towering terror of the devil on earth is now unleashed.
Burn!
Burn! Burn! Burn! Burn! Burn! The Devil's Reign. Hundreds of souls held captive in an eternity of hell.
Seize him!
Possessed by the devil.
You, my son, have defiled all that is holy.
Mother, my God, my God!
They become his worshippers and his demons. The Devil's Reign, starring Academy Award winner Ernest Borgnine, Eddie Albert, William Shatner, Keenan Wynn, and Ida Lupino as Mrs. Preston, and with the special participation of Anton LaVey, High Priest of the Church of Satan. The Devil's Reign, conceived by the producer of A Man Called Horse, created by the masters of magic of Planet of the Apes. Together, they bring you a melting hell on Earth, and absolutely the most incredible, unforgettable ending of any motion picture ever. Heaven help us all when the devils reign.
And finally, for this collection, we come to The Devil's Raid, which Severin have issued before, and which is one of the unsung greats of the 1970s, I think. Directed by Robert Fust, who you probably know from movies like The Abominable Dr. Phibes, Dr. Phibes Rises Again, The Final Programme, and Soon the Darkness. Those are all British movies. This is the movie he made in the US, and this should have the same reputation because it is a bit of a classic. So once again, this is an edition that comes in a slipcase with new original artwork, different art than we saw on the previous Blu-ray. This 4K edition, again on 2 discs, single-sided sleeve inside this time, but again, different artwork. The extras feel like they're pretty similar to the ones that we found on the previous edition, so it's primarily an upgrade in picture quality for the actual film. But the extras are great on here. There's an archival interview with Bill Shatner, for example. Tom Skerritt does a more recent interview. There's an interview with Anton LaVey biographer Blanche Barton, which is significant because LaVey was a technical advisor to this film. I'm not quite sure what techniques he advised on, quite frankly. It's probably more like a bit of a publicity stunt than anything, but for both him and the film. But nevertheless, good to have him involved. This is a movie that is gloriously outrageous. It has a spectacular opening title sequence, one of the best you'll ever see, quite frankly. And also, there's an exciting, tense, wild, very entertaining horror thriller for much of its length, and then ends with absolute spectacle. Even if you haven't seen the film, I'm guessing that you'll know it by reputation, if for nothing else than just the ending where everybody melts in great, spectacular, gloopy style. This was made a couple of years before The Incredible Melting Man, and I'm sure was some sort of inspiration. I'm not quite sure to what level, but yes, if you want to watch huge numbers of Satanists just disintegrating like overheated candles, this is the movie for you. Wonderful cast. William Shatner as part of that weird post-Star Trek era where he was making lots of low-budget horror movies, things like Kingdom of the Spiders and Impulse. And Ida Lupino is in this. John Travolta is in this long before he was famous. Tom Skerritt, Keenan Wynn. So, yeah, a great cast. Very well put together, and now in the wonders of 4K you can watch all that melting and disintegration and the wonderfully lurid, colourful visuals in a way that you never previously could. What more could you ask for? So which of these 3 films is your favourite? Let us know in the comments, and of course tune in again on our next video to see a few more Severin titles, big chunky box sets in this case, that I'll be having a look at. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.